welcome to Book Circle. I'm Earl Wajenberg. This time we are continuing our reading of Lilith by George MacDonald. Our hero and narrator, Mr. Vane, is now at last in the house of Adam and Eve, which is the house of the dead, and has seen his loved ones put to sleep in their chambers. But his job isn't over yet. Chapter 41. I am sent. Then I turned and said to Eve, Mother, one couch next to Lona is empty. I know I am unworthy, but may I not sleep this night in your chamber with my dead? Will you not pardon both my cowardice and my self-confidence and take me in? I give me up. I am sick of myself and would fain sleep the sleep. The couch next to Lona is the one already prepared for you, she answered, but something waits to be done ere you sleep. I am ready, I replied. How do you know you can do it? She asked with a smile. Because you require it, I answered. What is it? She turned to Adam. Is he forgiven, husband? From all my heart. Then tell him what he has to do. Adam turned to his daughter. Give me that hand, Mara, my child. She held it out to him in her lap. He took it tenderly. Let us go to the cottage, he said to me. There I will instruct you. As we went, again rose the sudden stormful blast mingled with a great flapping on the roof, but it died away as before in a deep moan. When the door of the death chamber was closed behind us, Adam seated himself and I stood before him. You will remember, he said, how after leaving my daughter's house you came to a dry rock bearing the marks of an ancient cataract. You climbed that rock and found a sandy desert. Go to that rock now, and from its summit walk deep into the desert. But go not many steps ere you lie down, and listen with your head on the sand. If you hear the murmur of water beneath, go a little farther and listen again. If you still hear the sound, you are in the right direction. Every few yards you must stop, lie down, and hearken. If, listening thus, at any time you hear no sound of water, you are out of the way, and must hearken in every direction until you hear it again. Keeping with the sound, and careful not to retrace your steps, you will soon hear it louder, and the growing sound will lead you to where it is loudest. That is the spot you seek. There dig with the spade I will give you, and dig until you come to moisture. In it lay the hand, cover it to the level of the desert, and come home. But give good heed, and carry the hand with care. Never lay it down, in what place of seeming safety whatsoever. Let nothing touch it. Stop nor turn aside for any attempt to bar your way. Never look behind you. Speak to no one. Answer to no one. Walk straight on. It is yet dark, and the morning is far distant, but you must set out at once. He gave me the hand and brought me a spade. This is my gardening spade. With it I have brought many a lovely thing to the sun. I took it and went out into the night. It was very cold and pitch dark. To fall would be a dread thing, and the way I had to go was a difficult one even in broad sunlight. But I had not set myself the task, and the minute I started I learned that I was left to no chance. A pale light broke from the ground at every step and showed me where next to set my foot. Through the heather and the low rocks I walked without once even stumbling. I found the bad burrow quite still. Not a wave arose, not a head appeared as I crossed it. A moon came, and herself showed me the easy way. Toward morning I was almost over the dry channels of the first branch of the riverbed, and not far, I judged, from Mara's cottage. The moon was very low, and the sun not yet up, when I saw before me in the path, here narrowed by rocks, a figure covered from head to foot as with a veil of moonlit mist. I kept on my way as if I saw nothing. The figure threw aside its veil. Have you forgotten me already? Said the princess, or what seemed she. I neither hesitated nor answered. I walked straight on. You meant then to leave me in that horrible sepulchre? Do you not yet understand that where I please to be, there I am? Take my hand, I am as alive as you. I was on the point of saying, give me your left hand, but bethought myself, held my peace, and steadily advanced. Give me my hand, she suddenly shrieked, or I will tear you in pieces. You are mine. She flung herself upon me. I shuddered, but did not falter. Nothing touched me, and I saw her no more. With measured tread along the path, filling it for some distance, came a body of armed men. I walked through them, nor knowing whether they gave way to me or were bodiless things. But they turned and followed me. I heard and felt their march at my very heels, but I cast no look behind, and the sound of their steps and the clash of their armor died away. A little farther on, the moon being now close to the horizon and the way in deep shadow, I descried, seated where the path was so narrow that I could not pass her, a woman with muffled face. "Ah," she said, "you are come at last. I have waited here for an hour or more for you. You have done well. Your trial is over. My father sent me to meet you that you might have a little rest on the way. Give me your charge and lay your head in my lap. I will take good care of both until the sun is well risen. I am not bitterness always, neither to all men." Her words were terrible with temptation, for I was very weary, and what more likely to be true? If I were, through slavish obedience to the letter of the command and lack of pure insight, to trample under my feet the very person of the Lady of Sorrow. My heart grew faint at the thought, then beat as if it would burst my bosom. Nevertheless, my will hardened itself against my heart, and my step did not falter. I took my tongue between my teeth, lest I should answer unawares, and kept on my way. If Adam had sent her, he could not complain that I would not heed her, nor would the Lady of Sorrow love me the less than even she had not been able to turn me aside. Just ere I reached the phantom, she pulled the covering from her face. Great indeed was her loveliness, but those were not Mara's eyes. No lie could truly or for long imitate them. I advanced as if the thing were not there, and my foot found empty room. I had almost reached the other side when a shadow, I think it was the shadow, barred my way. He seemed to have a helmet upon his head, but as I drew closer I perceived it was the head itself I saw, so distorted as to bear but a doubtful resemblance to the human. A cold wind smote me, dank and sickening, repulsive as the air of a charnel house. Firmness forsook my joints, and my limbs trembled as if they would drop in a helpless heap. I seemed to pass through him, but I think now that he passed through me. For a moment I was as one of the damned. Then a soft wind, like the first breath of a newborn spring, greeted me, and before me arose the dawn. My way now led me past the door of Mara's cottage. It stood wide open, and upon the table I saw a loaf of bread and a pitcher of water. In or around the cottage was neither howl nor wail. I came to the precipice that testified to the vanished river. I climbed its worn face and went on into the desert. There at last, after much listening to and fro, I determined the spot where the hidden water was loudest, hung Lilith's hand about my neck, and began to dig. It was a long labor, for I had to make a large hole because of the looseness of the sand. But at length I threw up a damp spadeful. I flung the sexton tool on the verge and laid down the hand. A little water was already oozing from under its fingers. I sprang out and made haste to fill the grave. Then, utterly fatigued, I dropped beside it and fell asleep. Chapter 42. I Sleep the Sleep. When I woke, the ground was moist about me, and my track to the grave was growing a quicksand. In its ancient course the river was swelling, and had begun to shove at its burden. Soon it would be roaring down the precipice, and divided in its fall, rushing with one branch to resubmerge the orchard valley, with the other to drown perhaps the monster horde, and between them to isle the evil wood. I set out at once on my return to those who sent me. When I came to the precipice, I took my way betwixt the branches, for I would pass again by the cottage of Mara, lest she should have returned. I longed to see her once more ere I went to sleep, and now I knew where to cross the channels, even if the river should have overtaken me and filled them. But when I reached it, the door stood still open, the bread and the water were still on the table, and deep silence was within and around it. I stopped and called aloud at the door, but no voice replied, and I went my way. A little farther, I came to where sat a gray-headed man on the sand, weeping. "What ails you, sir?" I asked. "Are you forsaken?" "I weep," he answered, "because they will not let me die. I have been to the house of death, and its mistress, notwithstanding my years, refuses me. Intercede for me, sir, if you know her, I pray you." "Nay, sir," I replied, "that I cannot, for she refuses none whom it is lawful for her to receive." "How know you this of her? You have never sought death. You are too much young to desire it." "I fear your words may indicate that were you young again, neither would you desire it." "Indeed, young sir, I would not, and certain I am that you cannot." "I may not be old enough to desire to die, but I am young enough to desire to live indeed. Therefore I go now to learn if she will at length take me in. You wish to die because you do not care to live. She will not open her door to you, for no one can die who does not long to live." "It ill becomes your youth to mock a friendless old man. Pray cease your riddles." "Did not then the mother tell you something of the same sort?" "In truth, I believe she did, but I gave little heed to her excuses." "Ah, then, sir," I rejoined, "it is but too plain you have not yet learned to die, and I am heartily grieved for you. Such had I been too, but for the Lady of Sorrow. I am indeed young, but I have wept many tears. Pardon me, therefore, if I presume to offer counsel. Go to the Lady of Sorrow, and take with both hands what she will give you. Yonder lies her cottage. She is not in it now, but her door stands open, and there is bread and water on her table. Go in, sit down, eat of the bread, drink of the water, and wait there until she appear. Then ask counsel of her, for she is true, and her wisdom is great." He fell to weeping afresh, and I left him weeping. What I said I fear he did not heed, but Mara would find him. The sun was down and the moon risen when I reached the abode of the monsters, but it was still as a stone till I passed over. Then I heard a noise of many waters, and a great cry behind me, but I did not turn my head. Ere I reached the house of death, the cold was bitter and the darkness dense, and the cold and the darkness were one, and entered into my bones together. But the candle of Eve, shining from the window, guided me, and kept both frost and murk from my heart. The door stood open, and the cottage lay empty. I sat down disconsolate. And as I sat, there grew in me such a sense of loneliness as never yet in my wanderings had I felt. Thousands were near me, not one was with me. True, it was I who was dead, not they. But whether by their life or by my death, we were divided. They were alive, but I was not dead enough even to know them alive. No doubt would come. They were at best far from me, and helpers I had none to lay me beside them. Never before had I known or truly imagined desolation. In vain I took myself to task, saying the solitude was but a seeming. I was awake and they slept, that was all. It was only that they lay so still and did not speak. They were with me now, and soon I should be with them. I dropped Adam's old spade, and the dull sound of its fall on the clay floor seemed reverberated from the chamber beyond. A childish terror seized me. I sat and stared at the coffin door. But Father Adam, Mother Eve, Sister Mara would soon come to me, and then welcome the cold world and the white neighbors. I forgot my fears, lived a little, and loved my dead. Something did move in the chamber of the dead. There came from it what was like a dim, far-off sound, yet was not what I knew as sound. My soul sprang into my ears. Was it a mere thrill of the dead air, too slight to be heard, but quivering in every spiritual sense? I knew without hearing, without feeling it. The something was coming. It drew nearer. In the bosom of my desertion awoke an infant hope. The noiseless thrill reached the coffin door, became sound, and smote on my ear. The door began to move, with a low, soft creaking of its hinges. It was opening. I ceased to listen and stared expectant. It opened a little way, and a face came into the opening. It was Lona's. Its eyes were closed, but the face itself was upon me and seemed to see me. It was white as Eve's, white as Mara's, but did not shine like their faces. She spoke, and her voice was like a sleepy night wind in the grass. "Are you coming, King?" it said. "I cannot rest until you are with me, gliding down the river to the great sea and the beautiful dreamland. The sleepiness is full of lovely things. Come and see them. "Ah, my darling," I cried, "had I but known, I thought you were dead." She lay on my bosom, cold as ice frozen to marble. She threw her arms, so white, feebly about me, and sighed. "Carry me back to my bed, King. I want to sleep." I bore her to the death chamber, holding her tight lest she should dissolve out of my arms. Unaware that I saw, I carried her straight to her couch. "Lay me down," she said, "and cover me from the warm air. It hurts a little. Your bed is there next to mine. I shall see you when I wake." She was already asleep. I threw myself on my couch, blessed as never was man on the eve of his wedding. "Come, sweet cold," I said, "and still my heart speedily." But there came instead a glimmer of light in the chamber, and I saw the face of Adam approaching. He had not the candle, yet I saw him. At the side of Lona's couch he looked down on her with a questioning smile, and then greeted me across it. "We have been to the top of the hill to hear the waters on their way," he said. "They will be in the den of the monsters tonight. But why did you not await our return?" "My child could not sleep," I answered. "She is fast asleep," he rejoined. "Yes, now," I said, "but she was awake when I laid her down." "She was asleep all the time," he insisted. "She was perhaps dreaming about you, and came to you?" "She did." "And did you not see that her eyes were closed?" "Now I think of it, I did." "If you had looked ere you laid her down, you would have seen her asleep on the couch." "That would have been terrible." "You would only have found she was no longer in your arms." "That would have been worse." "You would only... It is perhaps to think of, but to see it would not have troubled you." "Dear father," I said, "how is it that I am not sleepy? I thought I should go to sleep like the little ones the moment I laid my head down." "Your hour is not quite come. You must have food ere you sleep." "I ought not to have lain down without your leave, for I cannot sleep without your help. I will get up at once." But I found my own weight more than I could move. "There is no need. We will serve you here," he answered. "You do not feel cold, do you?" "Not too cold to lie still, perhaps, but too cold to eat." He came to the side of my couch, bent over me, and breathed on my heart. At once I was warm. As he left me, I heard a voice and knew it was the mother's. She was singing, and her song was sweet and soft and low, and I thought she sat on my bed in the dark. But ere it ceased, her song soared aloft, and seemed to come from the throat of a woman-angel, high above all the region of the larks, higher than man had ever yet lifted up his heart. I heard every word she sang, but could keep only this: "Many a wrong and its curing song, many a road and many an inn, room to roam, but only one home for all the world to win." And I thought I had heard the song before. Then the three came to my couch together, bringing me bread and wine, and I sat up to partake of it. Adam stood on one side of me, Eve and Mara on the other. "You are good indeed, Father Adam, Mother Eve, Sister Mara," I said, "to receive me. In my soul I am ashamed and sorry." "We knew you would come again," answered Eve. "How could you know it?" I returned. "Because here was I, born to look after my brothers and sisters," answered Mara with a smile. "Every creature must one night yield himself and lie down," answered Adam. "He was made for liberty, and must not be left a slave." "It will be late, I fear, ere all have lain down," I said. "There is no early or late here," he rejoined. "For him the true time then first begins who lays himself down. Men are not coming home fast. Women are coming faster. A desert, wide and dreary, parts him who lies down to die from him who lies down to live. The former may well make haste, but here is no haste." "To our eyes," said Eve, "you were coming all the time. We knew Mara would find you, and you must come." "How long is it since my father lay down?" I asked. "I have told you that years are of no consequence in this house," answered Adam. "We do not heed them. Your father will wake when his morning comes. Your mother, next to whom you are lying—" "Ah, then it is my mother!" I exclaimed. "Yes, she with the wounded hand," he assented. "She will be up and away long ere your morning is ripe." "I am sorry." Rather be glad. It must be a sight for God himself to see such a woman come awake. It is indeed a sight for God, a sight that makes her Maker glad. He sees the travail of his soul and is satisfied. Look at her once more, and sleep. He let the rays of his candle fall on her beautiful face. She looks much younger, I said. She is much younger, he replied. Even Lilith already begins to look younger. I lay down blissfully drowsy. But when you see your mother again, he continued, you will not at first know her. She will go on steadily growing younger until she reaches the perfection of her womanhood, a splendor beyond foresight. Then she will open her eyes, behold on one side her husband and on the other her son, and rise and leave them to go to a father and a brother more to her than they. I heard as one in a dream. I was very cold, but already the cold caused me no suffering. I felt them put on me the white garment of the dead. Then I forgot everything. The night about me was pale with sleeping faces, but I was asleep also, nor knew that I slept. Chapter 23. The Dreams That Came. I grew aware of existence, also aware of the profound, the infinite cold. I was intensely blessed, more blessed, I know, than my heart, imagining, can now recall. I could not think of warmth with the least suggestion of pleasure. I knew that I had enjoyed it, but could not remember how. The cold had soothed every care, dissolved every pain, comforted every sorrow. Comforted? Nay, sorrow was swallowed up in the life, drawing nigh to restore every good and lovely thing 100-fold. I lay at peace, full of the quietest expectation, breathing the damp odors of earth's bountiful bosom, aware of the souls of primroses, daisies, and snowdrops, patiently waiting in it for the spring. How convey the delight of that frozen yet conscious sleep? I had no more to stand up. I had only to lie, stretched out and still. How cold I was, words cannot tell. Yet I grew colder and colder, and welcome to the cold, yet more and more. I grew continuously less conscious of myself, consciously more conscious of bliss, unimaginable yet felt. I had neither made it nor prayed for it. It was mine in virtue of existence, and existence was mine in virtue of a will that dwelt in mine. Then the dreams began to arrive, and came crowded. I lay naked on a snowy peak. The white mist heaved below me like a billowy sea. The cold moon was in the air with me, and above the moon and me the colder sky in which the moon and I dwelt. I was Adam, waiting for God to breathe into my nostrils the breath of life. I was not Adam, but a child in the bosom of a mother, white with radiant whiteness. I was a youth on a white horse, leaping from cloud to cloud of a blue heaven, hasting calmly to some blessed goal. For centuries I dreamed, or was it Chiliads, or only one long night? But why ask? For time had nothing to do with me. I was in the land of thought, farther in, higher up than the 7 dimensions, the 10 senses. I think I was where I am, in the heart of God. I dreamed away dim cycles in the center of a melting glacier, the spectral moon drawing nearer and nearer, the wind and the welter of a torrent growing in my ears. I lay and heard them. The wind and the water and the moon sang a peaceful waiting for a redemption drawing nigh. I dreamed cycles, I say. For aught I knew or can tell, they were the solemn aeonian march of a second, pregnant with eternity. And we will learn more of Mr. Vane's final dreams next time.